The improved version of this e-C4 continues to bring a dose of Citroen individuality to the EV part of the family hatchback segment. The smarter looks have a crossover vibe, the EV range is reasonable, and the cabin is still the most comfortable in the class. If you're fed up with clinical family EVs, here's one that might just charm you. My name is Jonathan Crouch. I've been testing cars for over 40 years. You'll find them all on the Car and Driving Car Review app. Here, I'm going to try and tell you everything you really need to know about this car in a way you'll find nowhere else. Citroen's improved e-C4 adds a bit of colour to the EV part of the family hatch segment. Here, we'll take a closer look. Citroen is a company with a reputation for trying to do things differently. Unfortunately though, the reality is that it's not always been a company able to do things differently from sister brand Peugeot. In the last few decades, a depressing cloak of conformity has characterised family offerings from the double chevron marque. But gradually, things seem to be changing and Citroens are being set apart once more. First, that happened with rather insignificant things like air bump exterior panels and squashier seats. But in more recent years, we've seen more fundamental Citroen-specific engineering. For example of that, take the subject of this test, the updated version of the brand's offering in the EV family hatch segment, the e-C4. Significant styling and interior updates feature with this improved design, bringing the e-C4 more into line with its segment rivals. And as before, this car plays to the things people tend to like about this Gallic brand: innovative design and a distinctive feel, plus, and here we get to the Citroen specific bit, exemplary ride quality. You can find out more about this kind of car by downloading the Car and Driving app. And if your interest is specifically in this facelifted e-C4, you'll need to stay with us for the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. If you've never really understood why so much of family hatchback design is devoted to high-speed handling engineering that few owners particularly want and most can never properly use, and we'd understand your point of view, then you'll get what Citroen is trying to do with this C4 at once. Whether you choose this car in combustion or in the all-electric form that we're trying here, this is an uber laid-back approach to what a C-segment hatch should be. It's been described as being more supple than your Pilates teacher, and with a seat inside, comfier than your favourite armchair, and cruising refinement that's quieter than a weekend without the kids. If ever a family hatchback set out to lower rather than raise the heartbeat, this is it. Primarily, all of this comes courtesy of what Citroen calls its Advanced Comfort Program, the pillars behind which are more thickly padded advanced comfort seats, and rather more significantly, the brand's heavily patented advanced comfort suspension. The name of this damping setup might suggest the kind of air springing the brand is historically famous for. The current trend might suggest it to be driver adaptive. Neither solution, though, fits with the approach that Citroen must take at this price point. The company lost money building too much damping complexity into its affordable cars in the 60s and 70s, and it's not about to make the same mistake again. So what we've got instead is an ordinary everyday spring and damper setup that's been reimagined in a rather clever way. In ordinary cars, such a system usually works with rubber bump stops that the suspension coil crashes against over bumps at the top and bottom of wheel travel. This Citroen's progressive hydraulic cushions setup replaces the usual suspension bump stops with hydraulic dampers. These cushion those impacts over things like speed humps and tarmac tears and allow the fitment of softer springs and dampers, producing the exemplary ride quality that Citroen claims this car can deliver. It seems to work too. We wouldn't join the French brand in describing it as magic carpet-like. You need proper air suspension for that. And it does seem to be affected more than perhaps you'd hope by things like deeper potholes and more extreme speed humps. The quite large 18-inch wheels probably don't help here. But overall, this remains the best conventional springy setup we've tried, easing the car over poor surfaces and floating you from crest to crest in a way that makes the ride of some class competitors feel rather crude. And as advertised, the thick, quilted, advanced comfort front seats you get right across the range further embellish the feeling of Gallic luxury. It'd be good if the limitation of being able to drive a small EV on a long trip for no more than about 2.5 hours between charges was a distant memory by now. Sadly though, for Stellantis group models at least, that's still the case here. The last time we tried an e-C4 at its launch in 2020, its 50 kilowatt hour battery claimed to take it 217 miles. That's a figure we never got near. Today, the figure from that same standard range battery has been eked up to a best of 232 miles, which doesn't seem to represent much in terms of nearly half a century of development. Those dissatisfied by that will be pointed to the extended range battery fitted to the pricier e-C4 model that we're trying here, which claims to be able to offer up to 271 miles between charges, and also provides a boost in power for the front-mounted electric motor from 136 to 156 horsepower, though because the 260 Newton-meter torque figure remains the same, the effect on performance is negligible, a reduction of 0.8 seconds in the 0 to 62 mile an hour sprint time, which in this perkier model is rated at 9.2 seconds. This e-C4 gives you 3 drive modes, normal, eco or sport. Obviously you'll need eco to stand any chance of getting near the quoted drive range figures, but selecting this mode feels like glue has been inserted into the throttle pedal. With an e-C4 there are no regen braking options provided, just a gear selector B setting, which if you're anything like me, you'll keep forgetting to engage. Obviously this all-electric model carries around a lot more weight than its combustion counterparts, but since there's nothing about the handling that encourages you to drive this car with much vigour, then you're unlikely to notice that difference very much. There's actually less body roll at speed through the bends than you'd think there might be. More of a problem is the almost complete lack of steering feel, but since a typical Citroen buyer probably won't be used to having much of that, this probably won't matter. This third generation C4 has been called the most individualist family car to wear this maker's double chevron badge since Citroen's GS model of the 70s, and it's been neatly updated as part of this facelift, drawing upon the brand's Ollie concept car from 2022 with squared off lighting signatures and the brand's latest logo. Now, as before, there's the alternative of a swoopy C4X saloon body shape if you don't want this 5-door hatch. That's quite a bit longer though, 4,600 millimeters long compared to the 4,360 millimeter length of this 5-door. Citroen isn't one of those brands who think that a full EV needs to look radically different from a combustion hatch. So the combustion and electric versions of this car look, well, almost identical. The only differences with this e-C4 lie with the badging and the charging flap. As with the original version, the silhouette of this C41 era design confirms that the delineating line between family hatch and compact SUV design is being ever more blurred, which many folk in search of a compact family hatch will think to be no bad thing. Smarter diamond cut bi-colour 18-inch amber wheels have been added as part of this facelift. There's the option of this Perla Nera contrast colour black roof, and the finish of this so-called little colour clip in the rear part of the lower black side protection strip designates the trim level that you've chosen. Gold satin for this top max version and glossy black for lesser variants. The front end now gets a meaner set of LED headlamps with a light signature divided into 3 distinctive horizontal segments, and proudly bears the brand's latest oval chevron badge, which sits in the centre of a redesigned radiator grille. Above, a deep lower intake with chevron themed ribbing in a pattern first seen on the brand's 1919 concept car. That colour clip theme features once again here at the front, this time in the colour of this lower section of the front bumper. As before, there are deep concave indentations on either side of the bonnet. There are LED light updates too, as part of changes to improve aerodynamic efficiency here at the angled rear end, which, as before, features a spoiler stretching across the lower part of the tailgate glass. Now, this is a silly idea because it means a rear wiper can't be fitted, which will irritate you hugely in the autumn and winter months. As is the current fashion, the black panel separating the tail lamps now features a Citroen script rather than a brand badge. Perhaps of greater significance is what you can't see, the fact that this car sits on a CMP platform that Stellantis Group brands usually use for super minis rather than the EMP2 chassis used by its similarly engineered and similarly sized Stellantis cousins, the Vauxhall Astra, the Peugeot 308 and the DS No. 4. Right, time to take a look inside, and in a nice touch for a model of this price, as you walk up to the car, the headlights and tail lamps welcome you. So, what have we got here? People often like quirky looks. They tend to be less forgiving of quirky cabins. Undaunted, that's exactly what this C4 continues to offer. Not much has changed as part of this update, except that the 5-inch instrument screen has been upgraded from that size to 7 inches in size, though only if you avoid base trim. The main feature of note here continues to be something other brands normally don't prioritise highly enough: the seats. The quite commandingly set and plumply upholstered advanced comfort seats we liked so much on the original version of this design are now standard on all models. They've now been improved with an extra 50mm of foam and a new denser section of padding in the centre of the squab. As before, they feature particularly broad bases, a foam that's 50mm thicker than usual for extra support, plus extra quilted padding to create an inviting visual signature that doesn't disappoint once you squish yourself into place. There's standard lumbar support too. The headrests no longer look such of an afterthought, but there's still not much side support. Otherwise, these pews brilliantly replicate the kind of feeling of cosseting Gallic luxury that affordable Citroens of the 60s and 70s used to offer. You might find the finishing to be a bit dull and dour if you've a mainstream version that doesn't feature this top variant's plusher looking metropolitan grey interior ambience upholstery package, which is a pity because the design here would benefit from the jauntier vibe that can be had on continental market C4s. Through the oddly shaped 3-spoke wheel with its square branded bezel, you view the digital instrument panel we mentioned, which doesn't appear to have been expanded in size for any useful reason and seems to have acres of wasted screen space. The wide centre stack narrows into this shiny centre console, which continues Citroen's unfortunate obsession with glossy piano black trimming, which quickly attracts dust and hairs, so you'll be constantly wiping it. You'll also find this finish on the weirdly shaped corner vents. As before, the centre screen is 10 inches in size, has lower shortcut home and vehicle buttons, and includes pretty much everything you'd want: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, smartphone mirroring, Bluetooth, the option of Wi-Fi connectivity, and a 6-speaker DAB audio system. As usual with Stellantis-sourced monitors, it's not the most user-friendly setup, and the Hello Citroen voice control isn't particularly intuitive. but the customizable widget home screen works fine, and the usual app drawer section has lots of integrated features, including a games section with 11 different choices. Avoid base trim and you get Citroen Connect Nav navigation too, with TomTom Live traffic services. What fortunately this screen doesn't include are the climate functions, separated out into physical controls further down with neat little guilloche trimmed silver dials. Now, as before, some curious choices on spec have been made here. There's no multicolour ambient lighting option, and you have to stretch right up to the very priciest model to even get the option of this test car's wireless smartphone charging mat, which is the sort of thing most people want these days. But nearly every model in the range is embellished with a head-up display, and with this rather unusual inclusion, the Citroen SmartPad support package. This must have been expensive to engineer, giving you a novel slide-out tablet mount in front of the front passenger, plus a lower drawer in which to keep your device. No other car on the market offers anything quite like this. That pull-out drawer doesn't compromise the size of the glove box, or at least it doesn't in left-hand drive models anyway. Right hookers like this one suffer from the usual Peugeot Citroen malady of a fuse box taking up half of the glove box capacity, which is annoying because apart from this slim drawer and this very compactly shaped deep box between the seats, there aren't really many places to store things away from prying eyes. Still, there's the broad area at the base of the centre stack that we mentioned earlier, with a further ledge above that on this test car can accommodate that wireless charging mat. We like the fact that you get a choice of both USB-A and USB-C ports with which to connect your devices, and though an overhead sunglasses compartment is missing, there are ticket clips on the sun visors, and you get twin cup holders between the seats, covered by a neat concertina ring top. What else? All-round vision. It's not great frontwards in the rain because the wipers don't cover as much of the screen as they should, and it's not great ever rearwards because of that bisected rear window. Right, let's take a look in the rear. Will this Citroen be compromised here by its Super Mini orientated platform? Well, not by too much. Space is actually quite reasonable on the rear seat. Rear seat knee room is pretty close to the class standard and will be fine for a couple of adults on medium length trips. The other thing that you might rightly be concerned about when sitting in the back of a family hatch with a coupe-like swept-back roofline is headspace. Citroen has mitigated that problem here by scalloping out the ceiling height for the outer two passengers, but the need to incorporate overhead lighting means a middle seat occupant will be more comfortable if they're of school age. If you don't need to take anyone in the middle seat and you've stretched to top spec trim, you'll get this fold out center armrest which incorporates a pen tray as well as the usual cup holders. There's no sliding or reclining flexibility for the bench or the backrests, but younger folk will be impressed to find that a USB socket is provided back here, and these small rear Corti-like windows add much needed illumination into this rather darkly trimmed space. Overhead coat hooks have been forgotten, and these headrests dig uncomfortably into the back of your neck until you raise them, but you get the usual seat back pockets and twin centre vents, plus there are individual overhead reading lights and coin trays in the door pulls. Let's finish with a look out back. There's no powered tailgate option, but the boot is reasonably sized at 380 litres. That's about the same as a Golf, though the fact that this model's Peugeot 308 close cousin can give you 32 litres more betrays that car's use of a more class-appropriate basic platform. For reference, the boot capacity of the C4X Saloon is much bigger, 510 litres in size. With both body shapes, the capacity you get is the same whether you want this car with a combustion engine or full electric power. And in this hatch, the space is very usable, thanks to this dual height adjustable boot floor. There's more space below the cargo base too, though only because Citroën follows the disappointingly typical class policy of failing to include any kind of spare wheel. There's a reasonably low loading sill height of 715mm, so getting bulky stuff in ought to be pretty straightforward. And you get side compartments to the left and the right, with upper bag hooks on either side, 4 lower tie-down points, and on the left, an elasticated side strap and a light. There's no useful 40-20-40 seatback split, but with this top spec trim, a ski hatch is provided for longer items. Push forward the 60-40 split backrest and you can improve the space on offer to 1,250 litres. To reflect challenging market trends, from launch, Citroën significantly reduced the price of this facelifted e-C4 compared to the earlier version. As we filmed in autumn 2025, this e-C4 was priced from £27,650 in base standard range 50 kWh U spec, with just over £1,000 more necessary for the mid-level plus trim most will want. To get the larger extended range 54 kWh battery we've been trying here, it's unfortunately necessary to stretch all the way up to top max spec, which at the time of filming meant a necessary spend of £31,505, at which point this Citroën doesn't seem quite such good value after all. As an alternative to this hatch model, there's the identically priced e-C4X saloon model, which can't be had with base U spec. All trim levels come with core model features like advanced comfort suspension, thickly padded advanced comfort front seats, and a dashboard storage drawer. There's also Citroen's LED vision headlights, 18-inch diamond-cut bitone amber alloy wheels, auto headlamps and wipers, tinted rear side windows, rear parking sensors, and a speed limiter with cruise control. Media features are taken care of by a 10-inch center screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a 6-speaker audio system. Ideally though, you'd stretch beyond base U spec, because then you'll get the kind of C4 or e-C4 most customers will want, which means that the base model's 5-inch instrument screen will be swapped out for a larger 7-inch display paired with a head-up display. And the center screen gains connected navigation and voice recognition. In addition, there's the useful SmartPad support feature, providing for an integrated tablet support ahead of the front passenger. Now, from plus spec upwards, there's also a rear view camera, power folding mirrors, and an alarm. Of course, this top max spec level, identifiable by its gold satin colour clips on the front bumper and the rear side lower doors, will be necessary to get the real niceties, which means intelligent beam headlights, front parking sensors, adaptive cruise control, LED front fog lamps, a heated deluxe leather steering wheel, heated front seats, a rear ski hatch, a rear armrest, and a plusher Metropolitan Grey interior ambience upholstery package. What about options? The main one, for which you'd need to avoid base spec, would be this test car's contrast colour Perla Nera black roof. If you stretch to this top max spec, you'll also be offered an Alcantara and leather effect upholstery package, a different black design of 18-inch alloy wheel, an opening sunroof, a hi-fi upgrade with Archimedes digital sound processing and 8 speakers, and the Techno Pack that's been fitted here, which gives you a 360 vision parking camera system, a 15-watt wireless phone charger, and Citroen's semi-autonomous highway driver assist system. And that works with the adaptive cruise control setup to virtually drive the car for you at cruising speeds. If it's an e-C4 that you want, then realistically you'd probably have to add £750 to the asking price of your chosen model, because that's what you'd need to add an 11 kilowatt 3-phase onboard charger, assuming that you've got a 3-phase supply to use it with, and a heat pump to preserve driving range in colder temperatures. Now bear in mind with any kind of C4 that unless you specify the only standard colour, that's solid oakonite white, then you'll be paying your dealer more for your choice of paint shade, £770 more in the case of the Elixir red finish that we have here. There are two new colours added as part of this update, Manhattan Green and Eclipse Blue. Right, what about safety kit across the lineup? Well, it's disappointing that the automatic braking system doesn't function at night or detect cyclists unless you stretch to this top max level of trim, which is probably the main reason why this Citroen received 4 rather than 5 stars in Euro NCAP testing. Lesser C4s and e-C4s get a more basic video-assisted automatic braking setup. And all versions of this car get the contents of Citroen's standard safety pack, which gives you forward collision warning, lane keeping assist with lane departure detection, driver attention alert, and traffic sign recognition. With top max trim, there's also blind spot alert. Passive safety kit fitted across the range includes in-crash braking, which in an impact will brake the car to prevent it from flying off and hitting something else. Now there's also the usual twin front airbags, although no driver's knee bag, plus row 1 side thorax airbags and row 1 and 2 curtain airbags, with all bags linked to the usual e-call system. Plus, as you would expect, you get ISOFIX child seat fastenings, hill start assist, and the usual electronic assistance for braking, traction and stability control. Lots of number crunching and honest analysis of your daily mileage needs will be necessary to decide whether this e-C4 can justify its higher purchase price over the hybrid and the inconvenience of plugging in to present a better all-round running cost and daily usage bet. We gave you the official WLTP rated EV mileage figures in our driving section, up to 232 miles for the 50 kWh standard range version and up to 271 miles for this pricier 54 kWh extended range top model. It's disappointing that Citroen charges e-C4 customers extra for a heat pump necessary to preserve driving range in colder temperatures. An energy section of the center screen can graphically show your consumption in miles per kilowatt hour over the last 30, 60 or 180 minutes. And that screen also offers an e-coaching section that offers various tips on achieving better frugality, most of them pretty self-evident, like smooth acceleration limits energy consumption. On to battery replenishment. The e-C4 charges at up to 100 kilowatts with the 50 kilowatt hour battery, or at up to 115 kilowatts with the 54 kilowatt hour battery. But charging times are much the same either way. The e-C4 is fitted with a 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger, which can DC charge to 80% in around half an hour using a 100 kilowatt public fast charger. At home, the car will AC charge from empty to full in around 7.5 hours using a typical single-phase 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box. That could fall to just 5 hours if you have a 3-phase home electricity supply and have the car fitted with an optional 11 kilowatt onboard charger to allow you to AC charge using an 11 kilowatt wall box. As usual with an electric car, to take advantage of lower cost off-peak electricity tariffs, you can manage charging times by using the energy section of the center screen or the provided My Citroen app. The charging port features a coloured indicator so the user can monitor the charging process, which can also be followed on the My Citroen app. If you're stuck with plugging into a domestic socket, you'll need 24 hours for a full recharge. Whatever your choice of C4, you'll probably want to keep garage costs in check by opting for the affordable 3-year servicing plan that's available at point of purchase. Finally, there's the usual Citroen 3-year 60,000 mile warranty with a year of roadside assistance. A 5-year 100,000 mile warranty costs extra, but shouldn't do. Like any EV, the e-C4 has a separate battery warranty, 8 years or 100,000 miles for 70% of charge capacity. As usual with an EV, there's lower benefit in kind taxation, rated at 3% until spring 2026. Depreciation isn't usually a Citroen strong point. After 3 years and 36,000 miles, this e-C4 manages only 37%. Insurance groupings for the e-C4 start at Group 21E or 22E for the standard range 50 kWh model, or Group 23E for this 54 kWh extended range variant. You still might not be quite ready to make the step from family hatch to SUV. You also might not be quite ready to make the step from combustion engine to full electric. This Citroen e-C4 makes either of these seismic steps a good deal more palatable to folk wavering on the edge of a crossover culture or a nightly charging regime. You get most of the visual cues associated with an SUV and enough driving range to make the switch from combustion power to EV realistic enough to consider. Let's be honest, all of this isn't going to be enough to allow this car to outsell the many family hatch EV models it's primarily targeted at. Models like the Hyundai Kona Electric, the Kia EV3 and the Volkswagen ID3. But the e-C4, especially in this updated form, has a much more individual and charismatic feel than any of those cars. It's a proper Citroen, which means it's interesting, stylish and extremely comfortable. And a proper Citroen is something we always welcome. If you're looking for a wider choice in the EV part of the family hatchback segment, you should too.